The idea of Major League Baseball allowing the Rays to split their time between Tampa and Montreal in just a couple seasons is a complete disaster waiting to happen. I mean, it sounds like they're literally asking for problems here. Let me begin with the most obvious thing that stands out: travel. It's already brutal enough during a normal big league schedule. And if you have two hometowns, you're not just multiplying everything that's difficult by 2, it's multiplying by like 4 or 5 or maybe even 10. Let's talk about this from the way it's been proposed: a hypothetical split of the home season between Tampa in the first half and Montreal in the second half. And everybody that matters here, players, coaches, front office, team employees, I mean, are you literally asking them to have 2 sets of everything during the course of a baseball season? 2 homes, 2 sets of cars. How about your family, your kids? 2 sets of schools during a season? And I realize most of the baseball season happens in summer, but this is where players might choose to live for a couple additional months before and afterwards. And the other thing is, all of this sounds like an emergency plan. Splitting half a season between Florida and the province of Quebec is like a last-ditch effort. You know, this would be the last case scenario of something that baseball's kind of forced to do where nothing else makes sense. They're practically volunteering to do this just to get maybe more fans in the seats. Again, it's an emergency type situation where there's no real pressing emergency. You're going to repeat this for several years? I mean, how do you think any big league players are going to want to be on the Rays knowing this setup, knowing this scenario? As if it's not hard enough to draw maybe talent right now to Florida anyway, imagine putting this on top of that. And how about coaches and managers and team employees? Again, I go to all the people that make a difference for your franchise. You need them to have some normalcy in life to set them up for success. Having a team split their home games during a season is not doing that. And I haven't even got to the fans yet. Are you realistically telling them, hey, this is Florida's team from April to June, and then this is Canada's second team from July to September? I just don't see how that works. Also, let's think big picture here. What happens when the ultimate fate is realized? When Major League Baseball makes a decision, or when the team owners make a decision of what they ultimately want to do. Do they want to stay in Florida, or do they actually want to move to Montreal? Let's say the plan ends up being they're going to stay in Florida after having split a little bit of time for a couple seasons in Canada. What would you tell the fans up there? Hey, sorry, Montreal, we were just flirting with you, and now we're taking another baseball team away from you with no promise of actually getting one permanently. That just would not be fair. That would not be good. That would not be a great message to Quebec from Major League Baseball. Or how about this? Let's say the Rays ultimately move to Montreal and they ditch Tampa for good. What would you tell Tampa there? Hey, sorry, we promised you guys that we would just be splitting time, and we're testing this out. We're trying to boost the franchise and numbers and metrics. And instead of just splitting half and half, now we're actually splitting town. I mean, talk about a kick in the shorts. My opinion is Major League Baseball should either fully commit to making Tampa work and give it a time span, and if it doesn't work, that's fine, but put every last effort into that new ballpark, into reviving that franchise, which we know is capable of drawing fans, but just hasn't done that in recent years. If you think it's not working in Tampa, and I agree, from the other coast, it certainly looks like it's not, that's fine. So long as you put everything into it, right? And I think the team, the Rays, have an agreement with the city of Tampa through 2023 to be playing baseball there. So long as these next couple years you do everything possible to try and reverse trends, and if it doesn't work in the end, fine. I'm not so locked into permanently needing to have a team in Tampa if it realistically isn't going to work out anymore. But you at least need to put every last effort into it, including the full involvement and backing of Major League Baseball. But if the dream is going to be that the Rays move up north to Montreal and the fan base is just going to be ecstatic and dramatic and attendance is going to be through the roof of, by the way, old Olympic Stadium, I understand the promise and the premise is to build something newer and more attractive to the fan base. But again, if you think that's just going to be an instant hit, or if Major League Baseball is doing this for sentimental reasons or maybe even regret of leaving Montreal in the early 2000s in the first place, I don't think those are enough good ideas to realistically make this thing happen the right way. You take it back to the last couple years and what we've seen the Blue Jays play exhibition games in Montreal, the place is packed. Everybody loves it and everybody gets nostalgic. And they talk about, wow, Montreal should have a big league team all over again. But let me take you back to the final couple years of Expos baseball, because everybody, again, gets so sentimental about it here in 2019. The year 2000, this team averaged 11,000 fans per game, per home game. 11,435 to be exact. 2001, they only averaged 7,935 fans per home game. 2002 goes up a little bit, 10,025 per game. 2003, 12,662 per game, and their final season, the farewell, the au revoir to the Montreal Expos, they averaged 9,369 fans per home game in that season. Now, clearly, that franchise back then was under a lot of turmoil. There would be expectations fans don't want to show up in protest. But how can you look back on those numbers in the final couple years and be nostalgic and think, again, that Tampa moving their baseball team up to Montreal is going to excite everybody and is going to be a for sure solution for, let's say, at least a decade? I don't know that anybody can guarantee that. And let me add this. I love the idea of baseball in Montreal. I just think they deserve their own full team and their own full season. This half and half thing, it feels cheap. It feels like you'd be using both cities just to get a little bit more out of attendance. The fact that MLB is even considering this is bad. But the fact that this news got leaked and then even confirmed, that's the worst part of it. Ultimately, Tampa, I want to see you get a new stadium. I want to see you rebuild your fan base. Montreal, I want you to get your own team. I want you to build the Expos all over again someday when you're ready.